potentially. Moving on to, of course, the legal side as well. Let's bring in Jesse Weber, NewsNation legal contributor and anchor for the Law and Crime Network. Hi, Jesse.
Blake, good to be with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So the president today basically suggested that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. The president's lawyer told NewsNation he doesn't know anything about Tuesday. Let's just go forward with what the former president has said. If indeed this happens, just sort of walk the audience through what happens after that, and then I want to get into the court case with you.
I think that's a really important point to start, right? So I don't want anybody to expect that there's going to be a raid at Mar-a-Lago and he's going to be handcuffed and moved across and put on a plane. That's not really what's going to happen in these types of cases. These are white-collar offenses. They're nonviolent offenses that were presumably are going to be listed here. And he's also the former president. So there's going to be some negotiation on the part of how do we actually get him to downtown court. He's going to possibly surrender himself. And there he will be booked. There will be actually a mugshot taken. I'm sure that will be obviously plastered and go throughout the media. And of course, he's going to have his arraignment where the charges will be read. And then ultimately questions of bond will be issued and things like that. And really, I think it's important to know that in terms of the indictment, typically what we see is the unsealing of that indictment when the arraignment happens. Now, it's possible, given the circumstances of this case, that perhaps the DA worked with the judge and asked the court to release and unseal this indictment beforehand so the public has an interest in seeing what happened. I am interested in seeing if there's going to be any limitations put forward on the president in terms of travel. So one of the issues that we keep talking about is, he's not going to obviously stop the campaign. Would any limitations be put in place by where he could go and how
is that normal? Like, obviously that would be an implication, right? Because then he wouldn't be able to go to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, on down the line. Is that a normal thing?
Well, correct. And it becomes a question, would he be a flight risk? And, there's a difference between, him leaving the country versus him leaving the state. I don't anticipate that there's going to be that level of limitations put here, but it's just something to think about. So I think that's what everybody needs to expect. And by the way, the security put in place at the Manhattan courthouse is something that, as we keep saying, is unprecedented, and we have to be very sensitive to.
Right.
This is the former president, and this is a very politically difficult issue.
All right, Jesse. So if you were in law school and everything that we know about this case publicly is put before you, or if you were the Manhattan DA and everything that we know is put before you, would you go forward with it? Like, what do you think of the case? Is it a strong one, weak one? Where do you come in on it?
What a tough legal question for law school, but it's a tough question even for us as lawyers. And I would say this is a weak case. I'm saying that from a legal prism, not in political. And there's a few reasons. One, it's an older case. Obviously, with older cases, witnesses, there can be problems with the witnesses and evidence. Number two, Michael Cohen, who is such a central figure in this case, is a problematic witness. This is somebody who pled guilty to ultimately lying to Congress, so his credibility comes into question. And the most important reason is the charges. So when I say this, I want to be very clear here. I am just talking about the hush money payments. Is it possible that there could be other charges in the indictment that we're not even thinking of? Possibly, but just the hush money payment. Number one, if this is falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor, there becomes a question of, well, is it really? He classified it as legal expenses. Could it be argued that he thought it was legal expenses? I think there's an argument to be made there. But the bigger issue is whether or not this gets upgraded to a felony. The idea is that you falsify business records to cover up another crime, the election fraud.
And in the state of New York, you would need to stack charges, right, in order for this to be a felony. I want you to listen really quick to Alan Dershowitz speaking to Chris Cuomo last night and get your thoughts on the other side. Listen here.
Yeah.
This is not what the criminal justice system is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be creative. It's not supposed to bring different statutes together that have never been used against somebody.
Real quickly, Jesse, is he right there?
He is, because again, is it a violation of state election fraud, which by the way, I have to tell you, this was the federal election for the presidency. Do those state election laws apply? And if it is federal election violations, this is a state prosecutor. Does he have the jurisdiction to ultimately file charges with respect to federal campaign violations?
Right.
Honestly, we're not entirely sure. And we're not entirely sure if a judge is going to, obviously downgrade this back to a misdemeanor. We're kind of in unprecedented land right now. We have to wait and see what the indictment ultimately says and what their theory of the case is.
So now I know why you laughed when I said law school. because there's a lot of layers here, huh?
It's not easy.
More
It's
for
not
the
easy.
pros, more for the pros. Jesse, this is something that we will obviously be watching in the upcoming days. Implications
Absolutely.
galore. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.